All right, hey everyone, Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thanks for joining me for another Greenbridge market analysis. I'm not simulcasting today. Again, I'm still trying to figure out the TradingView situation. So for those that normally watch on TradingView, I apologize for that, but I should have that fixed sometime. Anyway, thank you all who are here on YouTube for joining me. In this session, again, we're going to address what's going on here with Bitcoin. I'm going to take a quick look at the stock market, of course, gold and the dollar, the bond market, those type of things, to get a sense of context and a sense of what kind of potential reward risk that we could see for the coming week. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay, so, and let me just say hello to a few people. We got Shay Shank, good to see you. Travel, all right. Hey, thanks for joining. Peter, Julio, MRP, Elizabeth, Farhat, Schwartz. Of course, I have Schwartz from Romania. Schwartz Bond, he's in Romania, I guess, today, but you never know where he will be in the world. All right, first things first, today is Monday. We have to take a look at the economic calendar very quickly. I suggest you check out your own economic calendar. I just like to use the one that I like to use. I'm not showing it on the screen here. Oh, Bart Guy, thank you so much. I'm not on TradingView, and the guy still sent me 100 coins. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So again, the economic calendar is important because especially if you're involved in any Forex trades or if you're involved in any stocks, an economic report can come out and it can generate a surprise and cause a range expansion. You want to be prepared for such an event. That's why it's important to check the calendar, okay? Not to look for trade ideas. Now, real quick, I'm just scanning for anything that stands out that's really important this week. And what I see here is, let me see, today, Australia, Royal Bank of Australia, rate decision, that's tonight at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They have their rate statement. Again, that can affect the Aussie. Not a big global mover right there. On the 5th, which is tomorrow, we have for the U.S. ISM services PMI. That usually comes out, either like 8:30 or 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Just double check on the time. Then we have New Zealand. They have their rate statement and their interest rate decision. That's probably tomorrow in the evening. I don't have the timestamp for that. So important if you're like in the Kiwi or anything that relates to that, especially if you're in those stock markets and stuff like that. Okay, on Wednesday, we have European retail sales. That's usually not a big market mover. Also on Wednesday, we have the US. I think this is Wednesday. Yeah, right, because today's the 4th, right. So Wednesday we have US, we have ADP employment change. Now that usually comes out around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That could be an important number because that is often a lead into NFP, non-farm payrolls, right? That's usually like some sort of hint. So that can move markets, right? Pay attention to that. Also on the 7th, which is Thursday, we have Canada, Bank of Canada Governor Macklem speech, unemployment rate, net change in employment. Okay, not a big market mover. And then, well, I'm sorry, the 8th, that must be Friday. That's Friday. I apologize for the mix-up there. The 8th, non-farm payrolls, okay, for the U.S. at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That usually comes out the first Friday of every month, but this happens to be the second Friday. I guess that happens sometimes. And NFP, next to an FOMC meeting, is the most important scheduled economic event that we see each month. You must pay attention to that because especially right now with all this, now everyone is all sensitive about interest rates and blah, 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 and all this nonsense was missing a month ago. What is up with that, right? No one was talking about that. Now there's inflation and blah, 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 okay? Anyway. So it's too early for a rant, but the point with non-farm payroll is watch out for any surprises, right? That could move the NASDAQ, that could move the S&P in a big way if there's something that the market doesn't like, or maybe the market likes something, right? There's no way, you're not going to figure out in advance how the market's going to react to that. You have to let the news come out, and then you have to let price adjust. right? Because all the smart money will make the adjustments they have to make, and then you'll have a much better answer and more clarity on the chart after the report. So again, this is important because if you have certain types of positions on, you may have to, manage your risk based on that, or prepare, make adjustments to your stops or whatever it is, depending on the type of position you're in. That's why that's important. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the Bitcoin chart before I talk too much about economic reports here. Now, I had an interesting question in the free chat room, okay, from Travel. And so I want to address that first because it's related to what I wanted to talk about in Bitcoin anyway. So his question was, in my TradingView report that I wrote yesterday, I published yesterday on TradingView, I talked about how this bearish structure that you can see on the chart here, this bearish structure is no longer in play. Okay, the lower high and the lower low is no longer in play. And his question is, why do I say that? Or what about the chart says that bearish structure is compromised and no longer in play? So here's the thing. First things first is you have to look at the context, and this structure from August or whatever, this bullish structure, that's the structure that's actually still in play. The corrective movement that we had off of that 52K, that was just a corrective move. Notice I'm not calling it a trend because it was not a trend. It was a corrective move, a temporary corrective move of this broader structure. The broader structure obviously has a lot more time in it, and the lows of the structure, which was 30K, were not even not even close to be taken out, right? So that right there, that context means that the corrective move, which we got off of 52K, was most likely temporary, but temporary could be a few weeks. I would not call that a trend. It's just a corrective move. Now, on this time frame, trend is relative to your time frame. So, people always confuse that word trend, and they'll use it for like the 1 minute trend. Right, the 1 minute trend means absolutely nothing in the eyes of the daily trend. So, on this time frame, the daily chart, the trend, right, that bearish movement wasn't a trend, it was just a corrective move. And in a corrective structure, resistance levels do not get taken out, they get respected, right? This is no respect over here. No respect of this 45K minor resistance. Not only that, but now 48K resistance has been taken out. That is definitely not what should occur in a bearish structure. Now, on top of that, we had the signs very early on that this was coming, right? I talked about the higher low or potential double bottom, talked about that many times. What makes this special or unique is it occurred at a potential support area, right, around those low 40Ks, which would be a broad higher low relative to this giant bullish structure, right? So that all lines up. Anyone that took trades, longs, off of this 40K area, you're doing very well right now, okay? And based on this structure, I do not anticipate any type of real pullback below 40K, not anytime soon, unless the structure changes again. But right now, based on what I'm seeing here, hold on, let me adjust my microphone. What I'm seeing here, this is nothing but bullish, okay? So if you're long from the lower 40Ks, or if you bought maybe like around that 45K, you've justified your risk. You should have taken some profit off the table by this point, and now you let it run because there's no reason to sell. There's no sell signal here. This is also going to be reflected across most of the altcoins that follow, right? What was I talking about a couple of weeks ago with the altcoins? People in here know they've been asking questions, about all those altcoins, and I said if Bitcoin holds, right, all those altcoins that were sitting at supports, they should be higher now, right? Because Bitcoin reversed off of that support area nicely and broke those resistances. So here's the next thing I want to talk about with Bitcoin. In my report yesterday, I talked about two buy scenarios, two long scenarios. One of them was this little breakout over here. Very aggressive, very hard to take because you're buying into a resistance, okay? It gave you it basically took out that 48.5 or 48.6 that I talked about. And here's what's tricky about it. You had to have a tight stop. And if you had a tight stop, most likely you got stopped out when it took out that candle low earlier today, right? Very tricky. But the risk on that was relatively low compared to your typical risk. I mean, the risk on that was about 2,000 points, something like that. That's very low for a swing trade. And now, if this thing starts pushing 51, 52, if you happen to stay in that somehow, then you're justifying your risk when this thing pushes 51K or whatever. So again, very tough trade to take, and the likelihood of getting stopped out in such a situation is very high. I don't like those type of trades. Now, the second scenario would be the more ideal, and that would be the pullback, the higher low, all right? The higher low to like somewhere between 44 and 46K. It's hard to believe that price will do that, okay, right now, because it looks strong at the moment. But don't lose sight of the fact that we are at a resistance area. Basically, we're still in the area, all right, even though it's pretty much rejecting, it's compromising it, it's clearing it, all right, it just hasn't closed yet. Then you have like that 50 to 52K area. So those are going to be tough spots. I would not be buying at these levels because I don't buy into resistance areas, right? So that's why you can't react. You can't get sucked into this. You're going to see all the fake gurus. I saw a nice, funny fake guru video. You know, when Bitcoin closed over here, oh, Bitcoin's going to go to 100K, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. This is one of the more popular fake gurus. I can't believe people listen to this dumb guy, but anyway, people do. The guy gets hundreds of thousands of views. Anyway. The point is this, I'm not going to buy into a high, into a resistance area, right? There's plenty of resistance in here, and great place to be locking in profits for those who got long earlier, who are willing to take that risk, some risk off the table, and then see how far it goes, all right? I don't care if Bitcoin goes to 60K from here, 80K. I don't care where it goes without me. I have no fear of missing out, okay? It either lines up with what I want to see and offers me the risk that I'm willing to take. Either it gives me that scenario or I don't play. It's that simple. I don't have to play, right? I control what I do with my money. And if I don't like the setup, if I don't like what's going on, I simply stay out because I don't chase profits. You don't make money chasing profits. So this is what I want to see. Retrace to 45K, 46K, that area. You get the idea, okay? That area, and I want to see it followed by a clear reversal. Could be a pin bar, could be an inside bar. I want to see something bullish develop there. My risk should be very easily definable. Typically, in this environment, it's been about 4,000 points. So if my risk is between 4,000 points or less, I'll be very happy to take a trade there. Okay, and then I'll be looking to justify that if Bitcoin can then test 50 again or something like that. Now keep in mind, this structure now that we've cleared the bearish structure, the corrective structure, now that we cleared it, it doesn't guarantee that we're in a bullish trend, right? But the thing is, it's that the structure is strong. So I want to see how it behaves around future support levels, because support levels should now hold, and that's where I'm interested in taking along. Overall, Bitcoin is really in a range, okay? So you can't get too mixed up with this trend stuff, and you cannot listen to these morons who don't know what they're talking about. This is in a range, and when we look back a bit here, this is a nice higher low. Theoretically, it should make a higher high, but until we clear 64K, I mean, I'm going to treat this thing like it's in a consolidation. So that means, in particular, I'm not going to be buying breakouts. Okay, so if this thing breaks out at 52K and just goes in a straight line, I'm not touching it. So it either pulls back and gives me something, or I have nothing to do. Now, keep in mind, what would negate this whole idea that I just talked about would be if there's some kind of sell-off, for whatever reason, okay, or maybe we pull back, we pop up, we develop a lower high, and then we're testing 40K again, right? That can happen. Doesn't look like that right now, but some catalyst can come out and whatever, right? The chart's not going to tell us about that. So we evaluate the structure once the chart shows us something. So if we get a situation like that, that would negate the whole thing. We take out 40K, then we're just fooling around. The next support's at 37K. That's where I'd be looking, 35K, something like that. But right now, that looks like a low probability, right? That type of scenario. So again, this is not about seeing the future, okay? Or I know the future because I have a special secret, right? Whenever you hear that word secret, you really should run. But I have a secret and I can see the price in the future. And if you just pay me thousands of dollars, I might share that secret with you, right? So my point is this: the market needs to give us some sort of information, and then from there we can come up with scenarios, right? Scenarios that are within reason. And right now the reasonable scenario would be the pullback to the higher low, and that's it. All right, otherwise I'm not interested. So that's Bitcoin. I hope that makes sense. Let me jump over to the stock market real quick before I talk about this way too long, because I could talk about Bitcoin for hours and hours. Now, the stock market, NASDAQ, people now are starting to be like, oh, it's bearish? It's bearish? Why is it bearish? Yeah, I've been cautious on the stock market. All of you know. All of July and all of August, right? I was like, I'm not touching this thing. I'm not touching this thing. Well, now look where we are. So it's a good thing I didn't touch this thing. Now, here's the thing. We have a lower high over here, right? We have now another lower high over here. So those lower highs basically say that this bearish structure, which is a corrective move, look, similar to Bitcoin, right? This move, all of this fake stimulus nonsense that goes on in this country, all of that is, we can't ignore it. It's bullish, right? Now we've taken out, we took out this support level, and bullish markets should not take out support levels, right? Now we have this level. We've sort of taken it out, but this can easily bounce. So that's the thing. This entire structure is still in play. And keep in mind, this thing can pull back, to the 50%, maybe slightly lower, and then change the structure. So what I'm looking for as far as stocks go is this structure needs to change for me to start thinking long again. Now, I'm not going to short this now. If you're not short, some people were very aggressive in our chat room, and they took some shorts. One guy was getting short all through here, and that guy had some courage. Okay, and he's doing well now. That was hard to do, especially in the face of, the markets are going higher forever. There's nothing ever to be afraid of, blah, blah, blah. Apple's going to all-time highs. Everyone is long, blah, 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 right? Anyway, yeah, that guy's doing well, and this market's getting hammered. Nice. So the point is this. We are getting at attractive levels. Why do I bring up the NASDAQ? Because this is going to affect the stocks that you trade. Okay, whether tech stocks, some type of NASDAQ stock. And these are levels of supports, right? We're going into them. And what I want to see here, because the short is over, forget the short. We're going into holiday season now, right? So what you're going to see, and you must stop paying attention to news. People think I'm nuts when I say that, because how could you ignore the news? That's what's going on in the world. I don't need to see the news, because the price tells me what's going on in the world. You have to understand something. Price factors in all the known information in the world, okay? Before the news gets to it, before all the experts start talking about it, price knows about it first, because smart money knows the information before everyone else, and smart money can start maneuvering before everyone else, typically, right? So all of that is going to be reflected into the price. So I don't need to know what's going on in the world. Price will tell me when something is changing. That's why logic throws a lot of people off. They'll be like, well, Jerome Powell said this, and the Fed said that, and, labor costs are this, and blah, 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 blah. All means nothing. Because once all that's factored in, right, out of nowhere, price starts to change. You're like, I don't understand. All this bearish stuff, and the market's going higher. It doesn't make sense. These day traders. These algo traders. It's their fault. These hedge funds. It's their fault. Always got to blame someone else, right? But the point is, It's not them. It's you're just not paying attention to the right information. Can't go by logic. So my point is this. What I want to see for stocks is I want to see that same structure that we saw with Bitcoin. All right, the double bottom. You see that double bottom here? Let me just show you that real quick again. Bitcoin. No one saw this coming, right? High or low, whatever, double bottom, same idea. The stock market's going to have to produce something like that. And that's very possible over the coming weeks because we're going into the holidays, right? Santa rally. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a first leg higher, an attempt, right? One more attempt to sell off. We get the lower high, attempt at a lower low, and then the failed low. All right, so what I'm talking about here is stability and structure, and that can take a month to play out. That can take 3 weeks to play out. So there's nothing to do here with stocks as far as buying them. Now, if you're an investor, this is not a bad place to start buying stocks you like. Maybe you want to take some small bites because you're buying into a low. Okay, but you should not be putting in large sums of money in something that looks like this, because this is bearish momentum. And until the structure changes, it's reasonable to expect more bearish momentum. But how much more is unknown, right? This thing may go slightly lower, and then you see a big bullish candle out of nowhere, right? Like this, and you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's nothing. It's just a fake out, right? And then meanwhile, it works its way higher. Look at the candle from Friday, right? Everyone, stock market bounce. Buy the pullback, stock market bounce. No stock market bounce. So that's the thing you have to keep an eye on. We're at a level of interest, but now we need the structure, okay? And that's going to take some time. Just keep in mind where we are in the year and how these things are seasonal, right? When it comes to the NASDAQ and the S&P, there is some seasonality to it. Look at the S&P. The S&P hasn't even made the new low yet. This is an inside bar. It's a very big one, but it's an inside bar. It's inside the range of the previous candle. So you can get a bullish inside bar. And look, this is not really dramatically lower. So, all the bears will come out and argue, oh, lower low, S&P is going to zero, right? This is not a good place to be shorting the S&P. That's a potential area for a failed low, where it sucks in all the shorts and whatever. So that's all I'm saying is the risk is too high for shorts now. Be looking for potential reversal over the next few weeks. Not a bad place to be buying stocks that you like for longer term, right? That's what you do in these type of situations. Otherwise, if you're confused or just uncomfortable altogether, then do nothing. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing, okay? All right, so that's the S&P. Now, let's take a look at gold. Now, I'm going to get to your questions here. I see a bunch of questions. Thank you very much for these questions. This is the dollar index. Right? And I've been keeping a very close eye on this because this is a reflection of interest rates. Now, that NFP number that's coming out on Friday can have a serious effect on the dollar and on the perception of how the Fed is going to handle interest rates. Now, with the dollar pulling back like this, right, that means what? That means, no rate hike or whatever, right? Dovish Fed, whatever. That's what the market's anticipating. But the thing is, that pullback is meaningless relative to the move that we got recently. This is just a pullback. This is not a trend. So the general trend on the dollar has been bullish, higher lows, higher highs, all over the place, right? So I'd be expecting a higher low on the dollar unless it proves otherwise, okay? And NFP can help that scenario along, right? Depending on how the dollar reacts to whatever NFP news comes out. But at this moment, I'd be expecting the dollar to establish a higher low. Let's take a look at the bond market real quick. That's important because that can have an effect on stocks. Here's the bond market. Interestingly enough, the recent couple of days in the bonds have been working their way higher as the stock market's been going lower, right? That's a little unusual. But, the bonds are hard to read sometimes, and you can't really time them one-to-one with the stock market, right? Just because the bonds are green doesn't guarantee that the stock market will move one way or the other. Now, here's the thing. This trend on the bond market, Gmail sent me 200 coins. Listening over on the other stream. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, Jamil, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not on TradingView. Again, I apologize for that. I'm still, I have to figure out my technology situation, and I'll get back on there. You know, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to not stream anymore on TradingView. I just have to get my technical situation ironed out. So thank you, though. I really appreciate the 200 coins. Thank you so much. I know they miss me over there on TradingView. I like TradingView, but you know, anyway, I don't know why they had to make those changes that they made. Anyway, all right. So bond market, right? So the trend, this trend here, and let me get rid of these messages here. Thank you again so much. Thank you. This trend is still bearish, right? Possible lower high developing. If price breaks to a new low in the bonds, that will be dollar strength, right? Because lower bond prices mean higher rates. They imply higher interest rates, and that's bullish for the dollar, which will affect Forex, gold, you know, all that stuff. And it also affects stocks, just not as precisely as something that trades against the dollar, like gold, right? And here's gold. So gold has been sort of all over the place. Now, what's going on with gold? Again, people love to throw opinions around with gold. Well, you know, gold is this, and, you know, oh, gold's obsolete, and whatever, whatever, whatever. Gold is in a range. So I don't have any opinions on gold. Price tells me what to think, and price structure says range bound in the short term here. When we zoom out a bit on gold, right, and I've showed you this chart many, many times, right? It's been a very elongated and very erratic consolidation for over a year. This is what a consolidation looks like. This is what I suspect Bitcoin is in, this mess right here. So, you know, it looks bullish 1 minute, and then next thing you know, it looks like this, right? So is this bearish? Is this bullish? Well, if you really zoom out, it's actually bullish, because the bigger picture going all the way back to here is bullish. So this is just a corrective consolidation. And during these corrective consolidations, the support levels, the broad support levels, are really the places to be looking for longs. Now with gold, that right now, you have a broader support level. Let me get rid of that price, that stuff up there. Okay, 1722. So basically between like 17 and a quarter, 17 and a half. Where's this thing right now? 1765. So in that area is an attractive place for gold, but you're going to have some courage to step into that. Or, you know, you're typically looking at 30 points of risk on something like gold. Do you buy gold now that it took out this little minor resistance over here? No, I wouldn't touch gold right now. This thing can easily pull back and give you the higher low, especially if the dollar is going to make another run for the high. If the dollar tries to do something like that, and we have NFP coming out this week, there are plenty of catalysts or potential catalysts for gold to retest this low. All right, so I would wait for something like that if you're going to take a chance with gold. If you're in gold right now because you gave it a chance at that support level, okay, great, but it would be wise to take something off the table. Why? Because you're going right back into the middle. That's not exactly the middle of the range, but you get the idea. It's almost the middle of the range. The middle of a range is very rare, very random area. So it's a good place to be taking something off the table, reducing risk, certainly not putting on risk, right? So it's either you buy at the low, get out in the middle somewhere, potentially sell at the high if you're looking for very aggressive trades, because that high can break since the broader trend is bullish. Right, that high is likely to break at some point, more likely than the low. So you try shorting that, seeing if you can get out in the middle. That's a very tough trade to take. I would not be very excited about taking a trade up in this area, a swing trade at least anyway. Maybe a day trade or something, but not a swing trade. It's too risky, right? Because once gold breaks out, this thing will run once it breaks out. So anyway, that's the gold situation, right? So if you're not in it and you're waiting for stuff, just wait. Wait for better levels, because this is not the best level for gold. You can get a better reward risk if you just wait. And if it works its way to the higher part of the range, well, so what? You know, there may be an opportunity for a continuation pattern somewhere in the middle, but you need to realize what you're in. And when you're in a consolidation, you really should not be in any hurry to do anything, right? When you're in a consolidation like this, because it's not really going anywhere. All right, so anyway, those are the main markets I wanted to cover. How am I doing with time? Let me see. Oh, man, 30 minutes. I talk way too much. I should have this done like in 20 minutes. All right, let me get to your questions. And I appreciate everyone's questions. Thanks so much for joining me and asking them. By the way, people always put what country they're from and stuff because I usually ask that. So if you'd like to share what city or country you're from, please do. It's always a nice thing to see. All right, and I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, if you couldn't tell from my accent. And my Seinfeld impressions. All right, so Peter, all right, no, let's go back. So travel, okay, so I answered travel's question earlier. All right, Peter from Slovakia, can you check DOT? All right, so like I was saying before with Bitcoin, all of these altcoins, right, when we looked at these a week ago and all that other stuff, they were all fooling around support levels, right? So when I talked about how you had to treat that in this situation now, if you manage to get long at those support levels, this is certainly a time to take something off the table if your risk is justified, and it should be, right? If you risked, how much is this thing? $31. So if you risked, like $5 or whatever, and this thing is up $5 for you, and you're at 1-to-1 or you're greater than 1-to-1, you should take a little thing off the table. Usually like 30% people ask, well, how much should I take off the table? Often what we do with our swing trades is we take 1/3 off at a target, and then we try to let the other 2/3 run, okay? Now, as far as that goes, there is a sell signal in this thing right now, all right? And you're at this little minor resistance area. You can even argue that this entire structure is a head and shoulders, right? A bearish, you have a shoulder, you have a head, you have a shoulder, and you're at this potential resistance. But keep in mind, something like DOT, it does not trade on its own. It depends on Bitcoin. So you can't exactly put a lot of weight into this sell signal, right? You can't go nuts over that. So like I said, if you're in from a good price, it doesn't hurt to take something off the table, and then it doesn't hurt to try to let some ride because Bitcoin is strong. And if Bitcoin continues higher, this thing will just consolidate a bit here and then squeeze higher because it typically follows Bitcoin. I find it hard to believe that if Bitcoin breaks 50K, I find it hard to believe that this thing will be breaking supports. Okay, I find it hard to believe it'll be back there unless there's something wrong with it. Okay, so that's how I would treat something like that. If you don't like this idea of the sell signal that's there right now, because I mean with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, this thing should be a little stronger looking. Maybe you want to take a little bit more off than 1/3, then it's not bad. As far as buying a new position here, no way. Okay, because you're at a resistance. Let it pull back. In this situation, just like Bitcoin, you want to see a higher low. Okay, higher low develop around this price right here, which is $31, $31.50 around there. Well, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. What price is that? I got the wrong price. I'm sorry. 28.5. I can't read any. My eyes. Okay, so this area right here. That's what you're looking for. If it can get there and give you a reversal, of course, Bitcoin should be doing the same thing. That would be the next buying opportunity in something like this. Don't pay attention to the head and shoulders. The reason why I say that is because the trend, this is a trend, is bullish. So when a head and shoulders appears in the context of a bullish trend, it doesn't carry much weight, especially in something that follows something else like this. So thanks for asking. Julio from London, can you please look at DGB? Sure. So, and by the way, if you have a symbol or a market you'd like to see, I mean, everyone knows because these are all regulars here, so they know how to ask. If you have an altcoin you'd like to see, just please put USD after it so I know and I don't look at the wrong symbol. All right, so here's DGB. And again, not too surprising, right? Doing the Bitcoin thing, following Bitcoin, except you have these sell signals. Look, this is another one. Looks similar to DOT, right? Little sell signal off of this resistance. What's that all about? The sell signals, you got the bearish pin bar, took out the low of the bearish pin bar and went slightly lower. So what do you do now? If you're not in this, there's really nothing to do here. Okay, now this is a bullish pin bar that you have right here, right now. But the thing is, it needs to take out the high of the pin bar. And if it takes out the high, meaning the candle needs to close, you're still buying into this resistance area, which is the equivalent of buying Bitcoin at 49K. Not very attractive. So what you want to see in a situation like this, again, like Bitcoin, you want two scenarios. Either you get the double bottom, right, which means Bitcoin will also be pulling back, I would imagine, or you want the higher low. Now, the low of this pin bar is almost the higher low. What is that, 4.5 cents, around there? So if you can get the buy signal, instead of all the way up here, this high, if you can get the buy signal somewhere in this area, which is around what, 404, what is this low here? What is this high? Let me see. But basically around 45 cent area, if you can get something like that, get the bullish pin bar to develop there, or perhaps an inside bar, a bullish inside bar, you'd have your buy signal. And you'd have to measure risk from either the low of that candle, which is going to be tight, or you use the swing low over here, which is 42 cents, or 42 and a, I'm sorry, not 42 cents, 4 cents, basically 4.25 cents. That area right there. All right, you'd be measuring risk from here. That's how you have to treat this thing. Keep in mind, again, it's a Bitcoin follower. So the fact that it's up at this resistance, if that buy signal never materializes that I just described, and the next candle looks like this, well, then you can either try buying that breakout and hoping for the best, which is risky, or you can wait for that next pullback after the breakout, okay? And I would be using Bitcoin as a guide. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking, Julio. All right, Mr. Plowking, XTZ, Tezos, right? I haven't heard from this one in a while. Let's take a look. So XTZ having a little vertical party right there. What is going on with XTZ? So you have a breakout. And here's the thing. So if you bought that breakout, this is what you don't want to see. Definitely don't want to see the bearish pin bar develop. Now, this would call for adjustment once the candle closes. So the low of this candle is $8.18. If the next candle opens and takes that out, that would actually be your sell signal. Now, if you're in from a low price and you're seeing something like this, I hope you've taken something off the table. If your risk has been justified or more than justified, meaning you're greater than 1-to-1, I hope you've taken something off the table. Otherwise, if you're not in this thing at all and you're looking for a long, well, your first support right now would be this old resistance, which would be around 740, 750. This area right in here, that's what you're looking for. And I would imagine Bitcoin would be doing a similar thing as far as the higher low goes. So you'd want to see the higher low. Now keep in mind, you can't just step in front of a higher low. You need the confirmation. So I would be looking for a bullish pin bar, an inside bar, or at least, you know, what if you don't get either one of those? What if you get like a bearish candle over here, right? Bearish candle, and it's really not a nondescript candle, and then the next candle takes out the high. I mean, that you can also call that a buy signal. It's going to be a little more aggressive because it's not off of a specific type of candle pattern, but it still kind of serves the same purpose, all right? And you can, at that point, you should have enough structure to define your risk from, all right, whatever that risk would be for that situation. But that's what I'd wait for something like this. Definitely nice structure, all right? Higher lows, higher high, nice breakout. So I'd be looking for the support to hold and a higher high to follow once this thing gives you that little pullback, if it can. Now, if it just goes vertical, you know, some of these things do that, just leave it alone until it gives you some kind of structure that you can measure your risk from. So I hope that helps. Thank you for asking. And he wants to know, and how high will it go? So there's no way to know how high this will go. We can look back and see if there's any historical structure here. Going back, if we go all the way back, look, I mean, you have this over here. Look at this. That, you better believe there are going to be people that remember that or that are stuck in from those prices. You also have this area right here. And if you notice, right, that goes back a couple of years. If you notice, price has been generally hesitant off of that level, right? Look at that. Look at this. Look at this, right? Notice? So people sell there, and this time it broke out. So you have this next level coming up over here, which is, what is that again? Basically over $10, right? So that's a potential level if you can get some sort of continuation pattern going higher. As far as after that, I mean, if those are new all-time highs after that, again, there's no way to know how high it will go. So you have to go by the price structure that develops, and when it establishes a high, You know, you're waiting for it to pull back to give you a new support, and then you have to work with it from there. If Bitcoin loses its bullish structure, okay, if it just goes back into consolidation mode, no matter how good this thing looks, it will probably also break, and you'll see it go back to supports that you haven't seen in a while. I mean, look at this back here, just to show you, right? Look at this, all this price action back here. Bitcoin was doing a very similar thing at this time. This coincides with Bitcoin at 30K, right? So keep that in mind. When these things get out of hand, a lot of times, you know, some fake guru starts hyping it on YouTube or in their chat room. Everyone piles in, it shows up on your radar, and then you think something's going on, and all it does is they lure you into buying the top. Well, not them. Your own emotions will lure you into buying the top because you think, oh, it's never going to pull back. And this fake guru says it's going to, I'm going to be able to retire on it, right? You can retire. It's going to 1000x. You're going to make so much money that Elon Musk will come to you for a personal loan every time he needs money. Great. Okay, anyway, that's my fake guru rant. All right, Elizabeth from Idaho, welcome. Hey, nice to see you again. ETH, sure. So Ethereum. Let's see what's going on with Ethereum here. So here's Ethereum on Coinbase. Now, Ethereum sometimes takes the lead and all that stuff. Very similar to Bitcoin, Ethereum broke this bearish structure, right? The corrective structure, broken, clearly. Now, it's hesitating a bit up here, right, near this resistance area. I don't know if you're in Ethereum, but if you're in from a lower price, this is not a bad area to take something off the table, right? Just like Bitcoin, not a bad area. If you're not in it and you're looking for swing trades, I would be looking in this area right here, just like Bitcoin, okay? Same idea. What is that, 2971, 2950 area? That's the place to look. Price is nowhere near there right now. Price is fooling around 3410, so it's hard to believe that it will get back there. But if Bitcoin gives it back, right, if Bitcoin fails at 50K, which you have to be open to, even though I just talked about, you know, we're looking at bullish structure and higher prices over the next few weeks, it can still fail and it can still pull back. The thing is, when it pulls back, in theory, it should not be taking out these supports. It should not even come close to them if this structure is going to remain bullish, okay? So that it's definitely possible because we have this nice initial move and all that other stuff. So I'd be looking for the higher low for a new long on something like Ethereum unless the market proves otherwise. And what would negate this idea? We break the supports, right? This thing has no business breaking 2836. Or that 28 area, 2800 area. If it breaks it, then I would just step aside, right? Because if this structure is going to stay strong, it should not do that. All right, so a few things to keep in mind. That's why adjusting is so important. You can't have some sort of opinion locked in. You know, not you, Elizabeth, but just people in general. People ask, well, what's your opinion? Well, tell me where Bitcoin is going to be in 6 months. You can't think that way with these things. You can't think any financial market. You cannot think that way because it will only get you into trouble in the long run. All right. You have to always keep an open mind and adjust to new information as the market provides it. Okay, Farhat. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. WTI. Okay, so I like to look at the USD WTI. It's just a cleaner chart, but it's the same idea. Look at that, breakout on oil, breakout. Now, someone had asked about, you know, what if we have some kind of oil energy problem, blah, 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 a week ago. And here's the thing, right? That would imply, obviously, higher oil prices because, you know, oil, you see oil at $100 a barrel, obviously we're going to have problems. So this is a breakout, Farhat, definitely bullish. Look at the recent structure on this thing. Higher low, higher low, higher high, higher low over here, higher high. So I would definitely be interested in longs. I would not be buying now, right? You don't want to buy this breakout. This thing could still potentially give you a false breakout, right? It could give you a failed high because it's broken. Candle, what I think, is oil closed yet? This thing may still be open. But the thing is, over the next few days, it's possible you get like a failure candle develop over here, which would give you a failed high. All right, so what that means for me is I wouldn't buy it now. But with this structure that's in place, going back a few weeks here, definitely would be interested in longs. So where are the support levels, right? That's the next question you have to ask, because the trend is pretty clear. Where are the support levels? Well, you have a support right there, which coincides with this old resistance. What is that? That's 72.97, so basically 73, around there. This thing right now is at 77. So 73, that would be a nice pullback on this thing. And you have all these old resistances right in this area too. Look at these resistances over here. So I'd be looking at 73 as a support. And if 73 is broken for whatever reason, you have this area right here. See this area right there? You have that, which is what, 70, 69, 70 area. Right? It's hard to believe that oil will go back there, but hey, it was there before, not too long ago. Those are the supports I'd be looking for. And I mean, look at this. Just in general, oil has been in a bullish trend dating back, what, a year or two? Since it went negative back in April of, what, 2020 or whatever that was. Look at this thing. Nothing bearish about this. So, yeah, those would be the minor supports. I mean, relative to this gigantic structure that goes back, you know, almost 2 years, whatever, those would be minor supports. But those would be the places I'd be looking for oil longs. Otherwise, if it breaks those supports, I'd be looking for a consolidation, right? And in order for this thing to go into a bearish type of trend, you need to break some major supports, and we're nowhere near them, all right? Major support number one would be like over here. Then you have one over here. What is this price? 57 area. Nowhere near them. So I wouldn't even worry about that scenario right now. That's how I would treat something like this. Definitely bullish. Definitely be looking for longs. Wait for a support level. So thanks for asking about oil. That can certainly cause problems in other markets if this thing keeps going higher and higher. Hey, Schwartz. Okay, cool. Nice to see you. Elijahs. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Ying from Barcelona. Thanks for stopping by. Mucho gusto if you speak Spanish. The Ace, hey, greetings from Oklahoma. Do you see WTI going to 90? USO going to, okay, so USO is the ETF. I mean, look at that. It's following oil. Looks just like the oil chart, right? Looks very similar. So here's the thing. Yeah, it's breaking out. I don't know if it's going to 90, right? There's no way to know. So the chart is bullish, and if the chart could remain bullish, then obviously higher highs are likely. So you can use the WTI USD or the USD WTI, the prices make sense here, as your guide for USO. And like I said, as long as this thing can maintain its supports, right now anything is possible. You know, is there resistance up there at 90? Let's just look back and see. Where was oil back here? This was back in 2018, right? Oil was as high as 75. Okay, look at that. And oil is higher than that now. It's barely higher, but look at that. That's interesting, right? And dating back, this is a very risky resistance area. Bad place to be going long with new longs. Before that, we're going back to like 2015 over here, right? That's your next resistance level on oil. Look at this. So what is the price on that? 90. There's your 90 area. So Ace, it's possible because it's clearly an old support, right? So old support tends to act as a new resistance. If this 77 area is cleared, 90 is certainly a possibility. Something like that can take a month or two to play out. Obviously, oil is very geopolitical. So, you know, you're going to need some catalysts to go with you on that. But at the moment, the structure is saying, yeah, it's working its way up there, okay? So just, again, don't chase these things. I wouldn't chase this right now. Wait for a decent pullback of some kind, and then you'll have a much better buying opportunity. But as long as this overall structure and as long as this 55 area, whatever, 60 area is not taken out, right? As long as that stays intact, and you just fool around a bit, you're looking at another consolidation, 90 is a possibility, but I would give that some time, okay? Not certainly longer than a couple of weeks. So thanks for asking, and interesting situation here. Alex, good to see you. Hey, Bart. Hey, you're from Uruguay. Again, thanks for the 100 coins. Alex, okay, BNB. What's going on there? BNB, USDT. Let's take a look. So Binance coin. All right, following Ethereum and Bitcoin here, looks very similar. Broke these resistance levels, right? 385.30 broken. That coincides with 45K on Bitcoin. What do we have here? 438. That coincides with basically with the 48, 49K area on Bitcoin. So if you're in it, nothing to do, let it ride. Take some money off the table. Nothing to do besides that. Would not be taking new positions now, because if this is the middle of this range, look at this range, right? You have a high over here, see that high? And then you have this low over here, okay? That's a range. We can say that that's a range. And right now you're at the midpoint of it. So price can go either way from here equally, right? Basically 50% or random. So that's why putting on something new is a bad idea in this area. No matter what kind of candle you get, it's just a bad idea, because you could flip a coin and probably get the same result, right? That's no good. We want something that leans more toward giving us some kind of advantage, even if it's a temporary advantage. So again, for something like Binance Coin, similar to the other coins that we looked at, you want to see the higher low, right? I think that's a reasonable scenario over the next few weeks or a week. The higher low, which would be around 384-ish, that area right there, perhaps maybe 380, and followed by some type of reversal candle. If you don't get that reversal candle and price just goes through the area like it's not even there, then you're looking at a potential double bottom. In that situation, if price ignores the higher low, and I would expect Bitcoin to be doing a similar thing, then you have to accept the idea that we're possibly in a range at that point. And the double bottom will carry some value. The failed low will also be a very attractive area for longs in that range-bound situation. Now keep in mind, if we see that type of scenario, and again, I'm assuming Bitcoin and Ethereum will be doing a similar thing. In that scenario, if you look around, because the best way to use these fake gurus and all these public forums is to think contrarian to them, because they're mostly wrong, right? And they're reacting to things. That's why they're wrong. So if they're all bearish at that point, which they will be, right? Oh, this thing is going to zero, blah, blah, blah. And you see all this bearish sentiment, that would be an enormous red flag as far as shorting, and you should be thinking long. Not jumping in going long, but you should be looking for those reversals, because what happens in those situations, right? When those people that scream, it's a short, right? They're just amplifying what the herd is doing. So that's why it pays to think in a contrarian way. What they're doing is they're all shorting here at the bottom. And that means that if this fails here, all those shorts are going to be caught. Just like they were all shorting over here. Okay? That's why you get these vertical moves. Because you have all these shorts, and they think, oh, it's going to zero. And they all get squeezed, and they all have to buy it back. Right? So that's what you're looking for in that situation. So my point is, don't be thinking short if it goes here and looks ugly. Look for the reversal. Okay? If the reversal doesn't materialize, no problem. Then just step aside and let it break. But if the reversal materializes, that's the opportunity. Okay? So thanks for asking. Again, what I just described would be, I would be expecting a similar outcome from Bitcoin. Schwartz, next week Israel. Oh, see, Schwartz bond. He's everywhere. He was responding to what I said before. You don't know where he would be in the world. I'm expecting what? He was in Monaco a few weeks ago. I'm expecting some more exotic locations, Schwartz. Maybe, I don't know, what's something exotic? French Polynesia maybe? Or, you know, somewhere really exotic. Anyway, thanks for mentioning Schwartz bond. Hello from Brooklyn. Savi from Brooklyn. Hey, what's going on in Brooklyn? They used to talk like that there at one time. They don't talk like that there anymore, I don't think. I'm sure there's some guys that talk like that over there. All right. So he wants to know about Litecoin. So look, Litecoin is definitely a big Bitcoin follower. Same, look at the pattern. Look at the pattern. Same failed low, right? Same rally. And same bullish pin bar trying to develop at a resistance area. So you can't chase these. Like I said, if you're in all the altcoins, how many altcoins look exactly the same here? If you're in from the lower price, you got in at a lower price, you were willing to take that risk, this is a great spot to be taking something off the table. If you're not in it, not a good place, because again, from here, this is a highly random area, okay, this whole area right here. And just like Bitcoin, if Bitcoin can't break that 50K, right, and it may have some trouble here, that's the problem with it. See, people want to know, is it going to do it? And then when it starts to do it, they think, okay, I don't want to miss out. And they have no idea that by jumping into it, chasing, all the trouble and all the resistance that can develop in this area, right? And it's just not worth taking the risk, because what if it pops into that area and you're like, okay, I bought it. And the next thing you get is the bearish pin bar, and it goes right back into the higher low where you could have got it at a much better price. Most likely what you're going to do in that situation is you're going to get scared out. You're going to bang it out at the bottom of the move, and that's where you should have been buying it, right? That's the result of chasing. That's the psychological outcome that often takes place after you get into something at a bad price. So wait for a good price. This is not a good price. It requires waiting. All right, now, like I said, if you're in it, take something off. If you're not in it, look for the higher low or the potential double bottom. I mean, at this point, I'd be very, I'm more interested or more excited about the possibility of a higher low. The reason why I think that's a higher likelihood is because of this initial move, right? The size and magnitude of that initial move. Again, same goes for Bitcoin. And the fact that it took out resistance levels that it should not have taken out if it was going to stay weak, right? So in a stronger market, higher lows, higher highs, and supports should hold. That's why I'm putting more weight on that idea. All right, so thanks for asking about Litecoin. Let me move along here, Savi. Hey, Jesse from Poughkeepsie, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. You have any oats futures for me to check out? Hey, Monica from Switzerland. Hey, thanks for joining. Hey, Guy from Germany. Welcome. Guten Tag. See, it's the only thing I could say in German. Bart, okay, so can you take a look at U.S. oil, please? So is U.S. oil, I guess that's the CFD, I would imagine. Yeah, so that looks just like WTI. Wow, so it's funny. I never get requests for oil, right? I usually don't get requests. Today I got 3 requests for oil. What does that tell you? What that tells me is obviously oil is all over the news, right? You probably have some moron on the financial news. Oil is making all-time highs. It's not making all-time highs, but you get the idea, right? So it catches everyone's attention. It's popping up on everyone's radar. Should I buy oil? No, don't buy it here. It's breaking out. Yes, those are all bullish signs, but you don't want to get stuck in the fake out. The risk is high. So just like WTI and all that other stuff, same goes for this. Wait for the pullback, right? This is what's nice about the CFD is, you can get involved and you can control your size a little bit better with micro lots and stuff like that. Your support on the CFD, you're looking at around, well, same area, 73-ish, right? That area. If you can get that area, right, that would be the place for the higher low would be here. Can I draw a box there? That would be nice. The place for the higher low would be right in that area. And if you can get it, great. That would be the place to give it a try. Now, let me give you an idea, a little example of a scenario. What if you get the market pulls back, okay, over the next couple of weeks, because it would probably take something like that for this thing to give back this momentum. You get the reversal in this area, right? You buy it, you take your risk, maybe you're risking $1 or something like that, or 2 in oil, and the next leg starts to go higher. And you're like, okay, cool, this is working, right? And then it gives you a lower high over here. You don't want to see that. Okay, that's again where you have to make those adjustments, right? That's where you have to decide, well, I risked $1, or $1, let's say $2, I'm up $1.50, I'm seeing a bearish candle develop, I'm up $1.50, let me take something off the table, even though you may have not justified your risk just yet. If the sell signal shows up before you justify your risk, that still calls for an adjustment. Because you may say, well, I didn't justify my risk, I'm just going to hold on. But the sell signal is giving you a warning that the momentum that should be unfolding for that type of trade is not unfolding, right? And that's where you have to make those adjustments. Maybe you raise your stop to break even or something. Maybe you get out of the position altogether. That's going to depend on how aggressive or conservative you are, okay? So anyway, thanks for asking. Another example for oil. Oleg, Luna, Okay, so I looked at Ethereum, so I covered that. Luna, okay, Luna, as it was pointed out to me that Luna is moon in Italian. I should know that. So Luna looks very similar to that Tezos situation, breakout, right? Nice breakout. You're going to have all these breakout traders piling in. This is not a good place to be buying it. This is a good place to be distributing risk. Let's look back a bit and let's see if there are any other historical prices. Nothing. So these are all-time highs. So when you get something like this, what's the first thing you're going to see on YouTube? Luna is going to tenfold from here. Retire on Luna. Blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. Yeah, don't be buying it now. Vertical. No good. You should be selling, taking something off the table, lock something in. Now, there's no sell signal here. So why am I telling you to sell? If you've gotten in from a lower price and your risk is more than justified, you take something off the table while the herd is there to take it off your hands, right? You don't want to wait until it turns red while they're there. But see, greed often steps in the way, and greed says, why did you get out there when this thing may be doubled tomorrow? Just hold on to it and make more money. But that's what gets you into trouble, right? It's about the risk. So if you're more than what you risked, it is a good idea to take something off the table. If you have not bought this yet, risk is high because people that bought it at these lower prices will be selling it to you. So stay away from that now. So what do you do if you missed it? Look for the next support. What is the next support on Luna? Right now, it's this level right here. And that is 43.60, okay? This thing right now is at $48. So it'd have to pull back a good $5 for you to even think about buying it, all right, in my opinion. If you get, and that also requires you get a reversal there. If there's bearish momentum, it could take you back to this level here, 33. That's why it's so not worth buying right now, because those are potential levels that you could see over the next few weeks. I mean, look, just to give you an example, the chart shows you right here. Imagine all those people that bought right there because they thought, they believed some big mouth on YouTube that Luna was going to go to 100, right? Or whatever. So they buy it there, and then the next few weeks they watch it go to here. So you don't want to get caught in that. You want to be buying it from those people who get caught in that, and then they sell it to you. But that requires a lot of patience, okay? You have to know the levels that are likely to attract buyers, buying activity, right? So those are the levels, 43, and then basically this 33 area, right? Yeah, 43, I'm sorry, did I say 43? Well, 40, 37, it's not going to be an exact number. It's this area. So that's the high 30s, right? High 30s and then like 33. That's what I'd do for something like that. Wait for that. Otherwise, nothing to do here, okay? There is no sell signal. So that's why at the same time, like I said before, if you have some, lock some in and then let some ride until a sell signal develops, right? And let the market pay you. All right, thanks for asking about Luna. Hey, David. David from Spain. Mucho gusto. All right. Happy to be on time. Cool. My request on, okay, Ethereum, Euro. All right, so Ethereum, all that stuff I said about Ethereum earlier, Ethereum against dollar, is going to apply to Ethereum, Euro, right? It's the same chart. It's the same exact thing. So if you just go by that, I mean, I know you asked this question a while ago, so hopefully I addressed it. Let me see what else I got here. Just going through the chat, oh man, okay, hold on. I just skipped a bunch. Let me just go back. All right, Mohammed, is that Bitcoin might be a fake out at this level? All right, so back to Bitcoin. His question is, can this be a fake out? Well, price can fake out at any time, right? Now, what is the potential that price fakes out over here? There is potential because you are at this previous resistance. Now, the thing is, the structure is changing. So now that price has proven to break this 45K, remember, in a bearish structure or a bearish environment, resistances should hold. So that resistance was broken. So far, this resistance is broken. Often, when you reach a resistance, it should get rejected pretty quickly. This doesn't look like a quick rejection. Okay, so usually like within 1 or 2 candles. I mean, you only have 1 candle here. Now, what will be interesting to see is how the candle closes and how the next candle behaves. If this candle closes like this, but the next candle gives it all back and is a red candle, then I would consider that a rejection. And I would expect that I would consider a fake out, okay, or false breakout. So anything is possible. You just have to be prepared for the market to give you that look or not. At this moment, it's not there, and it's not behaving in such a way that that is consistent with what a typical fake out looks like, okay? Doesn't mean it won't change in the next day or so. So that's the thing. As far as risk goes, are you willing to take a chance that this thing doesn't fake out? At these levels, I'm not willing to take a chance, because even if you clear 49, right? What's this thing right now? 49.2, whatever. There's still resistance at 50. 50 is a major whole number area. And then, you know, all the way back to this 52K area, which caught a lot of people. You still have a lot of resistance in this area. So the potential is limited for trades, taking trades right now. That's the problem. It's just not worth the risk, even though it looks good. Not for a swing trade. Day trades are a different story, and you can make some decent money if you day trade Bitcoin, but you really need to know what you're doing with that. I don't encourage that at all if you're new, okay? Because all you will do is lose money. Okay, let me see what else I got. So thanks for asking. Hey, DJ, good to see you. How about some puts? If you're talking about on the stock market, DJ, not now. We missed that one. All right, that was a tough play. You know, I bought them. I was way too early on all those bearish things. I was bearish in March. I was bearish in May. And now here's the move. Anyway, so yeah, I would hold off on puts right now. I'd be looking at longs, if anything. I'd be thinking long. That's as far as I'd go right now. Not putting on any positions just yet. Unless, like I said before, if you're investing and you want to take small bites in some quality stocks, well, now we're starting to see some red. So these aren't bad prices to start taking small bites. The problem is there's no buy signal here. So that's why I would not be interested in any swing trades or going short either, because this is just not the place to be going short. We can easily get 100, 200 point bounce, right? Like the NASDAQ has given us over these couple of weeks. And that's where you want to look for the short or buying puts at the next lower high, if it can establish such a thing. Keep in mind, as bearish and sentiment right now is getting ugly, and all these geopolitical blah 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 and this and that and blah blah blah, right? All that. Meanwhile, we're going into holiday season. So just something to keep in mind. Now, optimism is just right around the corner. I'm not one for being blind, blind optimism. I'm definitely, as you know, when the market was pushing high after high after high, I was saying, I'm not optimistic about this at all. While everyone else, but the market's going higher. I don't care. It's going to go higher without me, right? At the lows, we're fooling around near lows on the stock market. I'm not pessimistic here. I'm just not doing anything because I just don't see any reason to do anything, right? But I'm thinking at least bottom, right? Or I'm thinking we have holidays around the corner, so that optimism is going to sneak right back in while everyone is going short. So when I start to see evidence of that, then I'll be looking around for stocks that might do well. I mean, we're talking NASDAQ and S&P, so you're talking your typical highly correlated market stocks, like your AMD, your NVIDIA, semiconductors, those kind of things. But energy, with oil doing what oil is doing, energy stocks may be good to look at over the next month or so. All right, thanks for asking, DJ. Bart, I also can get some insight on Mr. I'm still in with some, okay, 6-4, yeah, I remember that. I remember we looked at Mr. MSTR. Let's take a look. So I remember, Bart, you had mentioned you were caught like in a gap or something. I remember. So as far as longs go, look, your structure is not exactly bad here, especially in the face of an ugly stock market. You have a double bottom established, okay? This thing gave you another bullish pin bar. This market's closed now, right? Gave you another bullish pin bar today. If you take out the high of this pin bar tomorrow, which is 613.64, and you're long from 645, I mean, this thing can give you another buy signal, all right? And it's acting, I have to say, it's acting relatively strong. You have a corrective structure, but look, you have the double bottom, it's a higher low. That higher low, double bottom, just so happened to develop inside of this gap, which often gaps can act as support or resistance. In this case, it's acting as a support. So as far as being long, it seems to be the right side for now, okay? If you take out this resistance right here at, what is this, 6, is that right? 617? If it takes out 617, you're at 608 right now, and this thing, the high is 613. Okay, if it takes out, basically, we're gonna round that to 620. If it takes out that 620, the structure is probably changing back to bullish at that point. Because keep in mind, if this structure is gonna stay bearish, you should not be taking out resistance levels, and it's trying to take one out. So if you're still in it and you're willing to hold that, it's worth giving a chance. Your risk can be defined at 565. I mean, if it breaks that, yeah, that sucks. Hopefully you don't have a large position, because that's quite a ways. You're looking at what, 60 points from here or something like that. So that could be painful if it's too big, but that's where the support is. So if it maintains that support, you're looking at a leg higher, okay? Especially if the NASDAQ and S&P find some kind of buying attempt. I'm not even going to call it a reversal, because we don't have a double bottom or anything in those markets. But if we get some sort of buying attempt, this thing is poised to break. You can at least see a push to the midpoint of the range here. That's what, 665? Right, somewhere around there. Possibly even, what's this low here? 690s, 680s, if it goes a little nuts on you. Something like that, this whole area. So you have some nice potential there. You said you're in from where again? 645? Yeah, so that's not exactly the best price, but hopefully you get what I'm saying here. Okay, so thanks for asking about that. Hey, Cardano, and why is this in a red candle while Bitcoin is green one if Cardano follows Bitcoin? Okay, good question. You can't judge them on a candle by candle basis, okay? We looked at a bunch of altcoins that are showing exactly this thing where Bitcoin is green and these candles are starting to turn a little red, right? But you can't really judge. You can't really make any judgments on that. You know why? When Bitcoin has a sustained move, these red candles are meaningless. They don't mean anything because they just get bought up anyway, right? So that's where understanding the fact that Bitcoin follows, it's not a one-to-one relationship. It's just if Bitcoin breaks out to new highs and you see Bitcoin at 50K or 51K, these things should be green. If they're not green in that situation, then what they're saying is that they are relatively weak. And if Bitcoin turns red, then these things should get hammered. That's what that means. But the reason why I don't put a lot of weight into that is because generally, no matter what these things do, when Bitcoin sets the tone, they just basically follow. So you cannot make individual judgments on these things. That's why I don't like trading these altcoins. I especially don't like swing trading them because it's just basically one big Bitcoin trade. And I'd rather just trade something that leads, Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that, and not these garbage coins that are just very noisy anyway, right? So in this situation, as far as ADA goes, if you're in from the lower price, because if you notice, Bitcoin rallied off of 40K, and look, this thing gave you a little bit of green, okay? It just didn't do as nicely as Bitcoin. But the structure, what about the structure on this thing? You haven't taken out this lower high yet, but that is likely to be the next move if Bitcoin continues. So what do you do in these situations? Well, if you're in, there's really not a whole lot to do, right? If you have your stop in place, you just hope it doesn't go to your stop. I mean, hope is not a strategy, but that's all you can do here. Otherwise, you're looking for the higher low, somewhere in here. And Cardano, that would be $2.30. I know Elizabeth is doing well on this. She bought it at like $2, right? She was willing to step in front of that as a position trade, right? That's how you get away with stuff like that when you change your outlook, because that could have went lower, right? Anyway, so if this consolidates and Bitcoin holds its supports, I would just be looking for an eventual breakout. It'll come back because they follow, all right? And if Bitcoin breaks its supports, then this thing will break its supports, most likely, especially if it's acting relatively weak. That's the best way to treat this thing. So look at the supports, look at the resistance, watch Bitcoin, and see how this thing, be prepared to see a reversal, some kind of higher low or possible double bottom over here What is this price? $2.05, around there. I'd be anticipating those type of moves and be prepared for those. Again, notice I'm not saying react, because you shouldn't be reacting to these things. You should be prepared. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking. Let me see what else we got here. Hey, Sean. Sean, good to see you. Who is asking for PED? Is that a coin? I'm going to find out. Or is that a stock? Let's see. I don't see any coins. I guess it's a stock. What's this? PED. I don't know if you could be more specific on that. Is this the U.S. exchange over here? Is this right? I don't know if that's right. Let me know if that's right or not. This could be the wrong market. But if it is, this is the correct symbol. Vertical? Is this a vertical candle? Yeah, no good. Not interested. Because this is hype. Whatever this is some kind of news, some kind of hype. And look at the long tails off of that. So in those situations, just stand aside. There are much better opportunities out there. How much is this thing? $1.88? Yeah, it's one of those cheap, it's like a penny stock type thing. And your support is this old resistance over here, which is 151, around there, 150. So in that situation, you're better off waiting to see if you get a retest of that, or maybe some sort of test slightly lower. Don't go for these vertical candles, because you're just asking for getting, top ticking it basically. All right. So thanks for asking if that's the correct symbol. Hey, go forth. Good to see you. I've been doing my Seinfeld impressions. He was complaining the other day that I had done a stream without a Seinfeld impression. So I have to make sure that I do some Seinfeld impressions. Hey, Kim, good to see you from Philly. From Argentina. Oh, Kim Philby. I thought you were from Philly because I can't read. My eyes don't work anymore. From Argentina. Mucho gusto. Can you look at TEO? TEO USD. Oh, is that a stock? What is that? Let me see. There's look. Telecom Argentina. That must be it. So let's take a look at Telecom Argentina. Now, look, first thing I'm doing is I'm getting a sense of the bigger picture, right? First thing I'm doing. And look at this. What do you see here on the bigger picture? All I see are lower highs and lower lows. We got a lower high over there, okay, right around there. You have a lower high over in this area right there, right? You have another lower high over here, okay? So lower highs, and now we were making lower lows, and recently though, it's been trying to change. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. You have a potential higher low in progress. Is this a reversal? Well, the problem is you have a lower high that needs to be taken out, and that's this price here. What is that price? Let me see. That is $5.79. That lower high is still in play, and because it's established, it's reasonable to expect a lower low, even though price is fighting to not make a lower low. Today's candle is red, but by 5 cents, so obviously it's not a crazy mover. So I would not do anything with this just yet until it could change its structure. All right, because let me give you an example. Let's say we hadn't seen this price action and all we had was this right here, let's just say. Okay, at that point over here, we could have argued that, yeah, it broke this structure here, so it would be maybe a good idea to look for higher lows, and look what it does, establishes a lower high. So it really needs to change its structure, okay, before, if you want to be more conservative with it. So I would not do anything with this thing until it could start taking out, some sort of resistance, and then look for higher lows, because otherwise, you can get caught in something here that's not doing well. Look at this tricky situation back here. Look at this. So it broke out, got a lot of people long, obviously, and then it gave it all back. So you have to be very careful with these things, right? Just because you get a change in structure, which we got here, it could not stay, it could not follow through, right? It should have produced a higher low after such a breakout, and it has not. So you don't want to get caught in something like that, right? So first thing, wait for the break, look for the higher low, and then wait for something like that. Otherwise, it's just not worth, I wouldn't take any risk on this thing, okay? If you're thinking long term and maybe you like them for some fundamental reason, well, at least you're not buying a high. But when you're playing that game, you really need to be cognizant of your sizing and make sure you don't get too big too fast, okay? Some of these things may be fundamentally good. I have no idea, but I just focus all my attention on the price action because the price structure and the price action will at least let me know when the environment is changing. I'm not going to get the best price, and I accept that, but you don't need the best price. What's better, I found, over a long time of doing this, is getting the structure to be in your favor or waiting until the structure goes in your favor is a much easier time than trying to get the best price, which can be very costly. Okay, Bart, hey, good to see you. YPF, and I guess it's an agricultural stock. Okay, let's take a look. YPF. Oh, yeah, I got to wrap this up here in a moment. Let me see how I'm doing with time. I talk too much. You know, I gotta stop talking so much. Well, okay, so a few more minutes. If I miss your question, I apologize. But let me see how much more I can do here. So this is YPF, and it looks like it's I guess it's an agricultural stock. All right, so first thing first, looking back, what do I see here? So I don't, now if we go really far back, obviously this is a lower high area, okay, going further back. But more recently, going back like 6 months, right? No, more, I'm sorry, going back over a year. This is over a year back here. This thing has been range bound. And that's basically the high part of your range right there, right? That's your range high. And your range low is in this area right around there. And you're basically in the middle of it, right? Price is right now in the middle of that range. So I don't really see anything particularly attractive about this. I see the recent double top or that range high and a potential lower high development, right? And since you're in the middle, we can't really classify this as a trend. There's really no broader trend because over the recent year, this thing has been pretty much range bound or consolidating, kind of like gold, right? And you're in the middle of it right now. It's the middle. So very random area. So if you want to get involved in something like this, I think it would be more conservative to wait for a range low or some sort of support if price can give you such an opportunity. That would be around $4. That would be one area to consider. I mean, this thing's at $4.72. It's not that far away, but $4, and then you have this area right here. What is this? 363. That area around that 350 area, like that. Those would be the areas where you should be thinking long, right? Or maybe accumulating some kind of smaller position if you're interested as an investor, because right here anything can happen. Okay, it's very random here, and you're coming off of that double top. I would anticipate that the next move from here would be a move lower, right? Lower high, lower low, because you did not clear this resistance. You can argue there's a higher low and it made a higher high, but relative to this high here, you have not made any progress. So I would be anticipating the lower low next, okay? So I'm not saying that to give you some sort of bias of trend. I'm just telling you that because the structure looks like it favors that right now. If this higher high situation was going to maintain itself, it should not have broken this support here, okay? So I'd be looking for that lower low. Bigger picture, consolidation, look at the range lows, right, if you're interested in it. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything here. Thank you for asking. That is YPF, okay? So let me see what else I got here. Just going back in the chat, just going back. Okay, let me see here. Hold on. Just going back, YPF, all right. Okay, hey, Shervin, good to see you, no problems, no problem. David, all right, so Alicante, Spain. Alicante. Interesting. I don't know where that is, but it sounds nice. Farhat, watching from Dubai. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining, Farhat. Got into a sell on WTI oil earlier today. All right, Farhat, that's interesting. So just be careful. The sell may work if you get the fake out. Okay, you are in a area, you are in a vicinity. Let's just go back to WTI real quick, because it could turn into a failed high. It's possible, and you are at a location where that can happen. The thing is, there's no sell signal, okay? And I can tell you, I've made many mistakes myself trying to short the NASDAQ, doing the same thing. Like, okay, I've got a resistance right here, I'm going to sell it. And it just runs me around, it just keeps going. and I'm short, and I just, lose money on that, and it sucks, okay? So I would just be careful. If this thing keeps going, just make sure you have your risk defined. That's the best thing I can tell you. If you get stopped out, you get stopped out. But what you want to see happen for the failure is this next candle needs to be red. Okay, you need to see a red candle, a bearish pin bar, something. And you need to see the low of this current candle get taken out. That'll be better if it can do that. Keep in mind, it's tried this a couple of times, on the way here. Look, tried over here. That would have been a sell signal, which has not gone which was not favorable. This was a sell signal over here. Again, not favorable at all. So, and now you're short with no sell signal. And the recent sell signals haven't been working. So just something to keep in mind, okay? Most importantly in these situations, when you go counter trend like that, counter trend can pay off well. Just like our guy who started shorting the stock market back in August when no one was thinking about shorting the stock market. And now it's paying off, but he had to take some pain, and it's hard to take that pain sometimes, okay, especially if it's a smaller account. All right, so thanks for asking. Olga, thank you so much for your channel. Don't understand why you don't have plenty of followers. Oh, I appreciate that, Olga. I can tell you why I don't have a lot of followers. Would love to learn the way you read charts. Oh, you're Russian, but you're living in South Africa. Okay. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of followers because a couple of things. I don't lie. I basically give you the reality of the market. I don't sell hope. I don't sell dreams. I don't try to mislead. And, I'm not using gimmicks to try to push you into something. People like to be lied to. That's the herd. They love to be lied to because this is a very emotional game. So right off the bat, I have problems because, no one wants to hear reality. And it's like you go to a movie theater, right? Because what do people go to movies for? They go to escape reality, right? They want to see something fantastic, something crazy, because reality is boring. So it's like going to a movie theater and then watching me talk about reality there. Who wants to do that? So that's the problem. The other thing is my marketing prowess could be improved, to put it that way. So I'm working on it, but it's going to take me a little time. But I tell you right now, I'm not going to start lying, and I'm not going to start selling you dreams. I'll tell you that. So anyway, thanks for mentioning. Gotham. Gmail, you're Gotham. I didn't know that. Okay, cool to know. From the Bay Area. Home of the overpriced homes. Yeah, I've heard stories. Targets above current level for remaining 2/3 of Bitcoin. Okay. Oh, you must have asked that a long time ago. I hope you're still there, Gmail. So if Bitcoin keeps going, which at this moment, there's no sell signal in here yet. There's nothing that says it. It's just we're going into a resistance area. I'd be looking at the 50K area. How much is this thing right now? 49.2. 50K is going to be a big psychological level. So that would be a good place to take something off the table, or at least anticipate bearish activity. Okay. And then, of course, you have this 52K area, which is going to be in everyone's memory. Everyone's going to remember that. So that may be another area to watch for a sell signal, and good place to maybe take some more profit. If it can clear those areas, then you're looking at like 55K, 56K. That's the next resistance. You're looking at, going back up to this area here, which, 55, 56, which we have not seen in a while. So those are the resistances I'd be watching for. But it's just hard to believe that we could make it to 56K in like one candle. I find that very hard to believe. So I'd be watching for resistances, basically 50K, 52K, and see how it goes from there. It wouldn't be a bad idea to, again, like I said, take something off. And also, if you can, let something ride until you get a clear sell signal. But those would be the locations. Okay, so thanks for asking. Hey, Steve. Hey, nice. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for saying hi. Hey, Farhan, I appreciate that. Bart, okay, AXS. Okay, let's take a look. AXS. All right, hold on a second here. All right, I see. I'm just running through the rest of the chat. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to answer any more questions after this. I apologize. I gotta wrap this up. So if I missed your question, I apologize. Okay, hold on. Let me do AXS real quick. And then I'm going to have to go. Oof. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned this, because This is what you don't want to see after you buy a breakout, or you're buying something like this. I don't know if you bought it, but look at this candle. This is what you don't want to see. Now, let me point something out. Previously, before this candle, something similar appeared. Okay, look, and I would have said the same thing. This is what you don't want to see, and it went higher. So this is unusual that it does something like this. Remember, I told you, markets are highly random. So while this type of situation is possible, you know, you get the bearish pin bar and then it just breaks the high of the pin bar and keeps going. While that is possible, the likelihood is lower. This is a game of probabilities. So here's the bearish pin bar again at a much higher price. If you're long, this is what a sell signal starts out to look like. Now, if the low of this candle is taken out, 131.82, if that low is taken out, that would be the sell signal. So it would probably be a good idea to take something off the table if you're in from a lower price. If you're looking to get into this, the best thing to do would be to wait for support, and your support right now is there. Okay, that is $94. So you may even want to round that to like maybe around $100. That's where your support is. It can easily go there. Not in one day. It may take a week or so or whatever. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is, you know, you get your sell signal, break of the bearish pin bar, and then it consolidates somewhere in here. Okay, basically between this area, what's this low over here? 106, so just over 100. It consolidates in this area and eventually gives you another long. That would be another scenario to look for on something like this. Okay, now it's weird that these coins, you know, Bitcoin is still looking good, and these things are starting to show sell signals early. That's weird. That's unusual. These things should be pushing their highs. Okay, but they're not. So okay, fine. So just something to keep in mind. If Bitcoin fakes out, I'd definitely be looking for that pullback into that area. Otherwise, this is not a place to be buying. Definitely don't want to be buying into a bearish pin bar. All right, so thanks for asking. All right, so I got to wrap this up. Let me just see what else I got. I just have so much text here. Usually I get this on TradingView. David, great fake guru rant. Oh, you like that, right? Oh, I could fake guru rant for hours. And if okay, so OMG XMR, I apologize. I got to wrap this up. Okay, sell from 78.2 with a small. Okay, okay, hold on here. Oh, yeah, tomato. I remember you, sure. The IDEX trade, I remember that. I remember you got hammered in that, and you came in here and asked what he should do. Right, he says this. Right, so I helped him get out of IDEX. I didn't help him yet. You had to press the button. But the thing is, this thing, the poor guy bought it up in this area, up in here, and asked me, well, you know, what can this thing do? And I said, this thing can get hammered. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm glad you're able to save some money in that. Okay, I'm glad, because I felt bad for you. People get caught in stuff like this all the time, right? Especially if you got that information from some fake guru. I mean, if you look at the stuff on TikTok, I hope you didn't get that from TikTok, because these people on TikTok that are giving financial advice, anyone that takes that advice, I hope you didn't take that advice from TikTok. You really need to rethink things. If you know, I'm not saying you took that from TikTok, but that's the type of stuff that you get from TikTok. Anyway, all right, let me see what else I got here. Just going through the chat. Thanks. Okay, I feel identified with the chase mentality. I'm buying the high and then scared selling off the lower price just to see the thing pump. Okay. Luna is Luna. Oh, in Spanish too? You know, Bart, I should know that. I really should know that. It's embarrassing that I don't know that. Okay, Farhat. Okay, no problem. No problem. Elizabeth, I hope you name your fake alter ego guru channel Vertical Party. Oh, I like that. I may have to do something with that. Vertical Party. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the idea. Douglas, tell your viewers to like your video. Okay, if you want to press the like button, that always helps. You know, Douglas, I mean, if people don't want to press it, I know it doesn't cost anything to press. And I know all these other fake gurus, hey, if you could please press the like button. You know, it just, for me, it starts to sound cheesy after a while. Okay, but thank you, though. I appreciate that, Douglas. Thank you. Okay, Kim, Argentina stocks are in the, okay. Argentina's a tough country. Okay, no problem. Kim, Philly like this. Okay, I'm just, Okay, hey for Bitcoin. Hey for Bitcoin Wa. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. From Romania. Okay. Does Tesla accept Bitcoin payments again? I have no idea. That's possible. I don't pay any attention to news. So it could be. There's usually some hype behind Bitcoin when Bitcoin does some kind of nonsensical thing. So I don't know. If that's the case, then I wouldn't let that distract me into doing something that the price doesn't agree with. Meaning if there's no buy signal, or if I have to buy right into a resistance, I don't care what the news is. I'm not interested. Okay, so thank you for mentioning that. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe someone can look that up. David, thank you. Okay, no problem, no problem. Alex, I don't use news for my trades, but I just heard that. Okay, yeah, I have no clue because I pay zero attention to news. Okay, I'm also following the weekly, okay. 51, it looks very interesting. So to start selling, if you mean for shorting, all right, so let me do this real quick. And because I'll leave you with this. I got to wrap this up, but yeah, I definitely do. But let me just, you mentioned Bitcoin on the weekly. Let me just show you something real quick. So on the weekly, right, mentioned, I just thought you said for selling. I don't know if you mean for shorting, but here's the thing. You are going into a potential resistance area, which we could see from the daily chart anyway, but you have this higher low here at 40K. You can't ignore that higher low. Even on the weekly, it's there. It's pretty solid. That 40K needs to be taken out, right? So the fact that you have a higher low, theoretically, should break 50K, right? We should see a higher high, theoretically. That doesn't guarantee we'll get it. It's possible that we develop another lower high, but at the moment, I mean, it's still too early. It's still early in the week. You know, there's nothing that says that. This candle would have to turn red, and you'd have to take the low out, which obviously can take the whole week to develop. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. So, all right, so I'm going to wrap this up here. No, like selling my spot coins, okay? To get out for taking profits. Yeah, sure. Well, that makes sense, right? Locking in profits into highs is never a bad idea, okay? Never a bad idea. You don't want to do it at lows. You want to sell locking in at highs and whatever. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good habit, okay? Because you're never going to get the high. So it's certainly a good area for that. I agree with that. Okay, so I want to thank you all. I got to wrap this up now. So real quick, what I want to say is, please, people, don't get stuck in any opinions. And I always tell people, don't listen to people. Listen to price. I mean, I just sat here for an hour and a half and I just told you all this stuff. But don't even listen to me, right? This is why I have no followers. Don't listen to me. Listen to the price, because the price doesn't lie. Price, it factors in all the known information in the world. So when I say listen to price, look at the levels around the price, look at the structures, look at the candles, right? There's a lot of information that you can use. I shouldn't say a lot. There's a limited amount of information that you can use, and that's all you need. You don't really need anything else. I know it's hard to believe that you could make an informed decision on such little information, but it's true, and that's because price is a discounting mechanism. If that was not true, then yeah, we'd be wasting our time with charts and all that other stuff, right? But charts have a value for that reason, but you have to be able to know what pieces of information carry weight and how to put them into a context. You're basically putting like a puzzle together. And once you have that context, you can then measure risk, right? And then from there, you can maneuver, you can do things. Once you've measured the risk and you accept the risk, it's always about the risk. And then, you know, how the market goes from there is how the market goes. There's no way to know. You have to adjust to new information as the market provides it. And there's no perfect way to do this. You're going to have losses along the way. The idea is to win more than you lose, right? That's why I always say, if you're greater than 1-to-1, even better. If you're at 2-to-1 reward risk, start taking something off the table, because things can change real fast and you don't want to give that back, right? You want to average more. Your wins should be more on average than your losing trades. And that's what the reward risk is all about, okay? And that's what we're trying to get a sense of here, and what potential the market has over the next few days to fulfill that reward risk that it's showing at the moment, right? But the key to this whole thing is being able to use the context to adjust to new information. And a lot of people, they don't know how to do that. So they just go with something that looks obvious, and then they get into an opinion, and you know how it goes. Anyway, all right, enough of that. No more rants. I got to wrap this up. I keep saying it, and I keep talking. So thank you all for joining me today, wherever you are in the world. I know it could be some crazy times, you know, midnight, you know, 3 a.m., whatever. So I really appreciate that. If you want to know more about Greenbridge, click on the link below, the thing below, and you'll see the links that I have on there. Otherwise, check me out on Thursday. I'll be doing this again. All right. So thank you all, everyone, for your great questions, and thanks so much for watching.